Before you can install your Lync infrastructure, you first have to extend your Active Directory schema and prepare the forest and domains in your environment. So what you can do, typically, if you're ultra conservative, you can do this from the schema master. So make sure you're not actually doing a schema change over the wire or something like that. These days, that's not necessarily as much of a concern as it used to be. However, if you want to be super safe, you could do all of what I'm going to show you here from the schema master. So on the C drive of my Lync server, I'm not on my Lync server, and this is going to be my first Lync server, but I've got the Lync media. So I got this folder called LS 2010. Inside this folder is the Lync server 2010 media. So I'm just going to go in here under setup, under AMD 64, and right click on this setup and run as administrator. So one of the prerequisites to do this is this Visual C++ 2008 redistributable package. So this is not currently installed, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes to install that. I've also pre-installed the .NET Framework 3.5.1 on this machine, and I've also installed the RSAT-ADDS module, or the Active Directory tools that you can install through the server manager. So those are already installed. Once I've installed that Visual C++ redistributable, I get this screen here. This is just asking me to install the Lync tools at this point. So if I click install here, that's not going to actually install Lync. It's really just going to install PowerShell for Lync and give me the tools that I need, the deployment wizard specifically, to extend the schema and prepare Active Directory. So it'll go through this first couple of quick components. This usually just takes a second, and you can see that that's already done. Here comes the deployment screen. And now I've got the option here to prepare Active Directory. And if you look over under all programs, you'll see that under Lync Server 2010, we have the deployment wizard, the logging tool, and the Lync server management shell. So all three of those got installed, but I have not installed a Lync server. So to prepare Active Directory, I'm just going to click on that. So I'm already logged into this machine. So I'm logged into the domain. I have a single forest, single domain setup. I'm logged in as the domain administrator, which is also a schema administrator in Active Directory. So that would be a prerequisite. And for step one, I'm just going to say prepare schema. And this really is going to run some Lync server management shell, PowerShell commandlets to perform this operation. And it'll tell you here what the prereqs are for this. You need to be in the schema admins group. You need to be able to contact the schema master in Active Directory. In my environment, I just have a single domain controller. He's got all the FSMO roles on one box. So I don't even need to check that. You may have to check with your Active Directory people to have them help you with this or give you the right permissions. So I'm going to hit run. I'm going to go through this wizard and click next. You can see here that in this screen, we're running the install CS AD server schema commandlet, and it's passing out the output to this report. So the cool thing about this is if there are any problems along the way extending the schema, you can view this HTML report and it'll give you a pretty good idea of what the problem is. So now that that operation has completed, the detailed results can be found in that file. And if you click this view log, it will actually open that file for you, that HTML document. But since I didn't get any errors, the prepare schema operation is complete. So I can click finish. And step two would be to verify. This would be just going into the directory and taking a look at some objects. We're pretty comfortable here that that's been completed because we didn't get any errors. So we're going to move on to step three, which is once per deployment, you're going to prepare the current forest. So you're always going to have that one forest. You need to create these settings and universal groups for Lync. The universal groups are going to be used to secure the product and also for role-based access control to give administrators the ability to manage different components of the Lync server infrastructure. What I'm going to do here is click on run. And again, this is another wizard that's real basic. You just hit next and we're going to choose the local domain. That's where we're going to dump the universal security groups. We just have one domain and that's already finished. And then again, if I wanted to view that output, I could click on the view log here, but no errors up here. Everything looks good. Go ahead and hit finish. Another step is if you're in an environment where you have multiple domain controllers and you have multiple Active Directory sites, maybe across the country or across the globe, you can verify the replication and make sure that now that you've changed this stuff here, has that information been replicated out to those other sites? That's really what step 4 is about. Again, in my environment, single domain controller, so don't really need to check that. From here, what I'm going to do is prepare the current domain. This is going to set some access control entries on those universal security groups that were created in step 3. So let's go ahead and run that. Another wizard here. Again, another PowerShell commandlet. This time it's enable CS AD domain. And that's finished. So we'll click on finish there. Again, they're talking about verifying replication, and you can, click the help links if you really want to go through those processes. The final step is to add the administrators to the appropriate groups. So you can see in the notes here, it says, add the administrators to the CS administrator group. So this would be the main server administrator group for Lync. The reason it starts with CS is because before the product shipped, they were going to call it Communication Server 2010. And at the last minute, they said, well, let's go ahead and rename it to Lync. But they didn't update any of the groups. So the PowerShell commandlets, the nouns are all prefixed with CS, and most of these universal security groups are in the same thing. So you would put your administrators, the ones that should be basically, organization-wide, be able to do anything in Lync, you would put them in that CS administrator group. So let's go ahead and exit out of this, since that's complete, and then I'll go to start and run. I'll do a dsa.msc. That'll bring up Active Directory users and computers. Here's my single domain interface.local. In the users container, you'll see that there's all these CS-based security groups. So the universal security groups that were created by the forest preparation. So those are in here. I want to put my administrator accounts in this group. So I'll go and do an add. Put my account in this group, and then that way, after I install Lync, I can log into the server tools and I'll have full control of the Lync infrastructure. But until then, I wouldn't have that permission. So this is something that would need to be done at some point after your installation before you can manage the product at all. So that's the process of preparing Active Directory. And again, you just want to verify after you've done this that all of that information is replicated throughout the entire forest.